Imagine hitting $100,000 invested before you turn 30, and then never adding another dollar for the rest of your life. No more saving, no more budgeting, nothing. Most people assume you'd fall behind. The truth is the opposite. That single pile of money quietly grows into more than $1 million by the time you retire, while you're busy living your life. This number isn't the finish line, it's the real starting line, the point where the entire nature of building wealth flips. So let's break down two things: the simple math that makes this number so powerful, and what your actual life looks like the moment you cross it. There's a reason people who are good with money obsess over this exact figure. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's longtime business partner, put it bluntly at a Berkshire Hathaway meeting in the 1990s. A young man asked him how to start building wealth, and Munger said, "The first 100,000 is brutal, but you have to get it." Why brutal? Because in the beginning, your net worth is pure muscle. Every dollar in the account is a dollar you earned and then chose not to spend. You're doing all the work. Your savings rate is everything. Your money isn't really pulling its weight yet. And that's exactly the stretch where most people quit. They look at a balance that's growing slowly, decide it isn't working, and give up right before the part where it actually starts to work. The people who win are simply the ones who refuse to stop during the boring phase. Buffett described the bigger picture with a different image, the one that gave his biography its title. He said life is like a snowball. All you need is wet snow and a really long hill. That first 100,000 is the core of the snowball, the part you have to pack together by hand. It's slow, it's heavy, but once it's big enough and you give it a push down a long enough hill, it starts rolling on its own, picking up speed and size without you. Crossing $100,000 invested is that push. It's the tipping point where, for the first time, your money starts doing more of the heavy lifting than your paycheck does. Let's follow someone. Call her Sarah. She works hard and gets $100,000 invested by her 30th birthday. Then she stops. Not another penny goes in. She just leaves it in a plain, broad market index fund at a long-term average of about 7% a year, and that's after inflation. Here's what happens. By the time Sarah turns 65, that untouched 100 grand is worth roughly $1.07 million in today's money. 100,000 became over $1 million, with zero additional contributions. The engine is compounding, and you can see it with the rule of 72. Divide 72 by your return, and you get how long your money takes to double. At 7%, that's roughly every decade. So Sarah's money climbs like a staircase, about 200,000 by 40, 400,000 by 50, 800,000 by 60, and it keeps accelerating from there past the million mark. Notice that the biggest single jump happens at the very end, in the years she's doing absolutely nothing. Here's the part that feels almost unfair. That first 100,000 earns about $7,000 in year one, all by itself. The next year, that 7,000 earns its own money. It's a feedback loop that starts quiet and turns into an unstoppable force. Now, the market doesn't move in a clean 7% line. Some years are up, some are down, and a few will be genuinely scary. But across decades, that long-run direction is what builds the fortune. So why does the age matter so much? Because time turns out to be a more powerful ingredient than money. Meet Michael. Same job as Sarah, just as smart. He just gets serious a little later. He hits the same $100,000, invested the same way, but at 40 instead of 30, just 10 years behind. By 65, Sarah has about 1.07 million. Michael has about 543,000. Same amount of money, same returns. Sarah has nearly double, and the only difference is 10 years. Michael could try to claw it back by saving aggressively for the rest of his career, and it would be punishing. Those 10 extra years of compounding did more work than tens of thousands of dollars in later savings ever could. And here's the uncomfortable truth underneath it. You can always go earn more money, but you can never go back and buy more time. That's why the early start is worth so much. Getting there young hands your money the one thing you can never earn more of. And the head start is bigger than most people realize. The typical American under 35 has a median net worth of about $39,000. And roughly half of under 35 households don't have a retirement account at all. So if you've got $100,000 in investments alone by 30, your portfolio is worth about 2.5 times the entire net worth of the typical person your age. You're not a step ahead in the race, you're a full lap ahead. This isn't about bragging, it's about understanding the scale of what you've quietly unlocked for yourself. Now, and this is the part most videos skip, let's be honest about the hard part. Getting to 100,000 is the whole challenge. So what does it actually take? If you start at 22 and give yourself 8 years, you'd need to invest somewhere around $780 a month at that 7% return. Start a couple of years later, and it climbs toward $1,100 a month. Start at 20 with a full decade, and it drops closer to $580 a month. Those are not small numbers. For a lot of people, they mean roommates instead of a place of your own, a used car instead of a new one, an aggressive side income, and saying no to 100 small things your friends are saying yes to. This is the brutal part Munger was talking about. It's simple. It is genuinely not easy. The entire payoff we're about to talk about rests on your ability to grind through this stretch first, and the earlier you start, the lighter that monthly number gets. So you get there. What changes in your real day-to-day life? The concept here is called Coast FIRE. FIRE stands for financial independence, retire early. But coast is the magic word. It means you've invested enough, early enough, that you can now coast to retirement. Your existing money, thanks to that compounding, is already on track to grow into a comfortable retirement fund completely on its own. To be clear, you still work to pay today's bills, rent, food, the car. But the relentless pressure to hustle and save for your 65-year-old self, gone, handled. And that buys you options. You can take the more interesting job that pays a little less because you're not white-knuckling your 401k contribution anymore. You can go part-time or freelance and own your calendar. You can start a business without betting your whole future on it. You can move to a city you actually want to live in instead of the one with the best salary. You can take a sabbatical to travel or learn something without feeling like you've torched your retirement. The money you would have funneled into savings can go toward a better life right now, today, while you're young enough to enjoy it. And to be clear, stopping is the floor, not the ceiling. Coast FIRE just means you can stop, but if you keep investing even a few $100s a month, that million on autopilot can grow into 2 or 3. The pressure is gone either way. Whether you keep pushing is now a choice, not a requirement. But the biggest prize is quieter than any of that. It's psychological. It's making decisions out of curiosity and values instead of fear. A level of financial calm almost nobody your age gets to feel. You stop bracing for the next emergency. You sleep better. That's what your life looks like. I'm not going to pretend this is a magic trick. A few things you deserve to know. First, about that 7%. The US market has historically returned around 10% a year, but inflation eats roughly 3 of those points. So 7% is the real return, what's actually left after inflation. And that's exactly why we can say Sarah's 1.07 million is in today's dollars, not some shrunken future version of it. It's an honest number, not an optimistic one. Second, and this is the part the smooth staircase hides, real returns are bumpy, and the order they show up in matters. There's a danger called sequence of returns risk. Imagine a brutal crash hits in the first few years right after Sarah stops contributing, while the balance is still small and she's adding nothing new to buy the dip. That early hit digs a deeper hole than the same crash would 20 years later, and the recovery takes longer. It doesn't break the plan, but it's the real reason set it and forget it comes with an asterisk. You have to actually stay invested and ride it out instead of panicking and selling at the bottom. The people who lose aren't the ones who hit a crash. They're the ones who flinch. Third, be clear about what invested means. This is money in the market working for you, index funds, a 401k, an IRA. It is not your net worth, not the equity in your house, not the value of your car, not cash sitting in checking. $100,000 actually invested is the only version of this that compounds. And fourth, where you put it matters as much as how much. The math in this video assumes a plain, broad market, low-cost index fund, the boring kind that just owns the whole market. The moment you start chasing hot individual stocks, jumping in and out, or handing over high fees, you quietly chip away at that 7%. And over decades, even a 1% fee can cost you a fortune. The strategy is dull on purpose. The discipline is the edge. Quick disclaimer, this is for educational purposes, not financial advice, and past performance never guarantees future returns. So when you boil it all down, what's the real reward for hitting this milestone early? It's not the number in the account. It's not even the comfortable retirement. The first 100,000 invested before 30 buys you the one thing money usually can't, time. And with time, it buys you choice. The choice to design the next 30 or 40 years of your life around what actually matters to you, instead of what pays the most. If this gave you something to think about,